Hello, students and friends. My name is Chris Wager. I'm with the Central Asian Productivity Research Center. Welcome to our 2021 Autumn Lecture Series. At this time, please let me introduce Dr. John Kalaras. Dr. Kalaras has been a professor for 42 years. In 1999, UNESCO chose him as Professor of the Year. In 2005, President George W. Bush chose him to serve on the President's Business Advisory Council. If President Bush and UNESCO found John interesting and informative, I'm sure we will too. Dr. Kalaras, if you please.
Thank you, Christopher. Hello, everyone all over the world, wherever you are. Today, we have another presentation on some special concepts that I have developed. And along with me, I have my co-presenter and partner, associate, and long-time friend, Ragnar Sanikas, who is going to introduce herself. And as soon as she does that, we are going to dive into the presentation. Ragnar, please.
Hello, everybody. Dr. John Kalaras, a pleasure as always to be here. An honor to be always on the stage with you. I do truly learn every time I'm here. So a little bit about my background. I'm a social entrepreneur, philanthropist, and advanced online marketing, focusing on helping brands go presence to profit. And in front of you today, I'm as a founder of the World Woman Empowerment. And what is World Woman Empowerment? That is an international initiative of the Untold Story Foundation, which is dedicated to humanitarian assistance and community development. And we are really focused on women empowerment through education, skill building, and entrepreneurial programs that create new opportunities for women to sustain their livelihoods. And guess what? Dr. John Kalaras happens to be our board member, and you pretty much understand why, because I just mentioned to you the education, skill building, and entrepreneurial programs. World Woman is today in 22 international chapters. What is a chapter? We have our representatives who really takes our vision to the second level and really helps the women in their community to get the access to the education, to get their skills built up, and obviously introduces also the entrepreneurial programs. So I'm very happy to be in front of you. I hope that anything else, then we add value to you. I do invite you, if you still do not have your paper and pen with you, take it, and make the notes. Not only make notes, but I hope that after this session, you will also take massive action. And this is what the great leaders do. And this is what you should do as well. Thank you very much. And back to you, John.
Thank you, Ragnar. That was great. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, professors, colleagues, students around the world, today's presentation is an alternative mode to doing business, and specifically to growing and developing your business along with your people as well. I'll be covering the main topics, and then we'll be commenting between me and Ragnar so you can internalize, so you can understand these concepts even better. Having said that, let me just say that most of the information that you're going to see today comes from my books, and you have a pictorial representation of the covers of my books. By the way, if you noticed, Ragnar was very instrumental in translating two of my books into Estonian. They're shown in the second row, and they're doing very well out there. And thank you for that, Ragnar. Having said that, again, remember, growth and development strategies is what we're going to talk about today. But mainly, I'm going to show you the mistakes that we have been doing as business people, even as professors who teach that stuff over the years. And because all these topics have been repeated to us over and over and over again, we have accepted them as norm, and they are not. And not only they are not the norm, they could be, and they are in many cases, even counterproductive. If you are expecting a crystal ball to solve all of your problems, it's not going to happen today. But if you want workable techniques that have been tested and proven successful, you are in the right place. I will begin with some advice that I received over the years from some of the best in America, if not in the world. And basically, those were CEOs and founders of corporations, multi-billion-dollar corporations, all of them. And they are, I don't know if you recognize any of the personalities, Dr. Edward Deming, Jack Welch, of the CEO of General Electric, Art Nielsen, and Bob Galvin of Motorola. I'll talk mainly about Art Nielsen out of the four today, okay? Because indeed, I've learned plenty from all four of them. Actually, Dr. Deming was one of my professors, one of my teachers back in the 80s. But today, I will only pick on one of them, the last one, Art Nielsen. Art Nielsen and I were not only associates, but very good friends. As you can see, I had lunch in his place, and there's another lunch meeting that we had along with another individual there. And basically, I learned a lot of lessons from Art Nielsen, and I have some of them right here. The very first one was about quality. At the time, I was teaching quality at the university level. And once he found out that I teach quality, he said, "John, how do you define quality?" And wise me, I gave him a definition, I gave him another definition, I gave them another definition, I gave him another definition, and then he said, "John, forget about all that. Do you know how do you find out if you have quality? Do you know how?" I said, "How?" And he said the very wise statement that I remember now for at least 2 decades. He said, "You know that you have quality when the customer returns and the product doesn't." And if you look into, folks, there is a lot of wisdom into that statement. Then he also said, "Do you ever ask your people," he says, you're a professor, but you also have your own business. "Do you ever ask your people, if that was your business, what would you do different?" And I said, "No, that I don't." He says, "Ask them." "Do you also ask them what business you are in?" I said, "Well, if you sell computers, you're in the computers business. If you sell furniture, you're in the furniture business. If you have a university, you're in the education business." And he says, No, John. The business you are in is to serve your clients in the best way possible, hopefully better than the competition, via the product or service you provide. And that is, again, another wise statement that you don't see in any management books in any universities. And I already asked the question if that was your business. And finally, the last statement, the last lesson that I want to share with Art was the acronym of CEO. To all people, CEO means Chief Executive Officer. Not to Art and me ever since I communicated with him and I had the discussions with him. He said, "John, CEO should stand for customers, employees, owners. That is the hierarchy. And right on top should be the customers or clients. Right below the employees, and you, John, the owner of your business, should be the last one on that hierarchy." I don't know, Ragnar, if you find this useful thus far.
Yes, and I would strongly suggest to take whoever you're watching this, and especially if you already are in a business or if you are in a state of starting your business, then I think throughout this CEO concept, you really need to understand your why. Why are you entering this business? Why are you wanting to do what you want to do? And why do you want to serve people? Because in the end of the day, again, we just heard that doing business is really serving people. So are you really ready to do it? or you just have a great idea and you think that as you like it, everybody else should like it as well. And by the way, in Mexico, CEO is also used as chief entertainment officer. So you understand that people do see it differently, but I have to admit that the client employee and owner concept it pretty much really sums up the doing business and why to do business. If you really can answer it on 3 levels, why are you doing on client level, why are you doing on employee level, and why are you doing as an owner? So beautiful concept, and just looking forward to take more notes, or as I'm already making them. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to begin with some management practices, as I said in my opening remarks, that we have accepted as norm, but they are counterproductive. The very first one, folks, is trust in the workplace. And the question that I usually ask my clients, the companies that I do consulting for, do you trust your people? And then do they trust you? And it's so unfortunate, folks, that there's no trust in most of the places with most of the companies. And please take a look at this picture. This lady in the white shirt finished her 8 hours work, and the security person is checking her purse to see if she has stolen anything. Imagine, instead of saying thank you after 8 or 10 hours of work, basically you're accusing this person to be a thief, and now you're saying, prove to me that you are not. I hope you realize how counterproductive it is and how demeaning or even disheartening that may be. And to help you understand the significance of trust, let me share with you the elevator engineer concept. We all take an elevator to go up to the 5th, 10th, 20th floor, wherever the case may be, where your office is or business that you go to. And basically, ladies and gentlemen, you trust the engineer who last repaired or fixed that elevator with your life, while you know absolutely nothing about the credentials of the engineer, the condition he or she was in at the time of repairs. You know absolutely nothing, and you trust them with your life, because let's face it, if you're going to the 20th floor and the elevator plummets, there you go, okay? So you trust them while you know nothing about them. And you don't trust your employees that you have checked their references, you have interviewed them, have been with you for a while, and you have to do this demeaning act at the end of the day. To me, that's disheartening, and it should stop. The next concept that I want you to look into and think about is the way that we handle complaints in business. Look at this pictorial. The person that is sitting has a phone in front of him, which is ringing off the hook with complaints from customers or departments in the business. And basically, instead of looking into, because let's face it, folks, that person is the policymaker, the CEO, as we said before, right? Instead of looking into the issues and fixing the problems, he calls the manager over and says, I don't want to hear any more problems. I don't want to hear any more complaints. Go take care of them. And the poor guy who wants to keep his job says, yes, boss, I will manage. So again, they're sweeping the problem under the carpet. And that is another practice that goes on, and it should not. This concept that you see here is out of a bowling alley. And I bet that you all know what a bowling alley is. We have them all over the world. And the idea here, folks, is you should let your people know how they contribute to the bottom line, how much they contribute to the company's success. In other words, if you went bowling, and as soon as you let the ball go, a curtain came down and covered your performance. So you don't know how many pins you dropped, but you can only hear what your effort did. Would you like that? Would you go bowling? I don't think so. We want to see the results of our efforts. We want to see how we did. So why not being allowed to see in business what we did, how much we contribute to the bottom line, and how well we perform? Unfortunately enough, again, CEOs and other management practices exclude employees from knowing instead of including them. And when you follow the policy of inclusion, you're always better off instead of policy of exclusion. Would you agree, Ragnar?
I totally agree, and I think a lot, even if we just look at from the leadership point of view, you as a leader should always invite your people and obviously include by asking the feedback. I'll give you an example how I usually handle the complaints when my people came to me. This has just happened, and people feel that they are not empowered to really handle them. They don't want to take the responsibility in case this goes, let's say, out of the box and really explodes. So what I did with my team was asking their feedback. How would you solve this? And really, in the end of the day, trying to see if their solution would actually work. Most of them did, and just adding maybe one or two details to it that they feel that their idea was welcomed, but they also learned something from this situation. So you as a leader have a lot to do how you handle your people when they need to handle those complaints. So ask the feedback and start with what's working, and then add what needs to be done in order to really work out.
Excellent, excellent. Well, here's another quote-unquote norm, which in my view, again, it is not. You walk into a department store like a grocery store, a department store like Target or Sam's, or any of those department stores, and you see usually on the left-hand side a big department and a big sign that says customer service. And what do we usually do in that customer service? What do they usually do in the customer service? They handle returns, defects, refunds, and other problems. Well, is it really what customer service should be all about? How about really taking care of the customer? What do the people in the rest of the store are doing if that's the only place where they provide customer service? And again, unfortunately enough, that's what many companies do. Of course, not my clients, okay? With my clients, they've taken that down and they have customer service all over the store. And in that department, they have a different side. Well, here's another odd situation. It shows right on top, and it was right before Christmas, that 178,000 jobs were added in November. And unfortunately now, folks, simply because companies want to show profits in the last quarter, in the end of the year, that is the time where they find appropriate, which is very inappropriate, of course, they find it appropriate to let people go so they can save on payroll and they can show higher profits and profitability. So there comes the news for the day. Merry Christmas, you're fired. And they let dozens, if not hundreds of people go simply because they want to show good numbers at the end of the year. Again, it's the wrong thing to do, and that should also change. Again, as we've been saying all along, it is the CEO's responsibility to grow the business. And if you want to grow, you got to engage your people. Just like Ragnar said, she's asking her folks, her team members, what do you think that we should do here? What do you think we should do there? And one thing that Ragnar knows very well, and I want you to know this, folks, is people who participate in building something, they do not go back to change it or destroy it at a later time. So if your people, like her people, contributed to, let's say, fixing something, contributed an idea, they're not going to go back later on and say, well, that was not a good idea, unless actually it was not, okay? Because they became part of it, okay? So you got to provide interest, opportunity, and benefit to your employees so they feel valuable. They feel that there's an opportunity for growth. and there is interest for them to be in the business. Think about the following. Are we challenging our employees at all? Or are we just giving them a schedule to do 9 to 5, don't ask questions, just do it like a robot? That's not the way things should operate in business. And here's another cute scenario. The concept of usefulness. And please try to understand and realize that to the heart. If you had, let's say, a 3-year-old boy who is playing in his playroom like this boy right here, and you presented that little child with a $10,000 Rolex gold watch or a $1 plastic toy, the yellow car, what do you think that the boy will grab and play with? The $10,000 watch or the $1 toy? I think you will all agree with me that the toy is what the boy will grab and play with. Why? Because that's useful to him. It makes sense, knows what to do with it. Are we making our employees' lives useful? Ragnar, I think you can contribute to this a lot because I know how you work with your team members. So if you want to contribute something here, please be my guest.
Well, the usefulness, I think it could be a topic by itself to talk about, because we also, I think the bigger we grow, the more we have processes in our corporations, which actually at the end of the day, if you see, the whole process doesn't make any sense. And nobody understands where it came from, why we're doing it, but we're doing it because it's in our books, no? So I think that whenever those let's say growth development interviews are taking place, then also see things and ask feedback from the usefulness point of view. How do they see the current, let's say, policies, procedures that the company has, and where do they see the bottlenecks? Where do they see that let's say the customer suffers, or where do they see as employees, for example, if they need to push through an approval, if they need some type of feedback, where it really doesn't work. And that's the point of usefulness, because sometimes we do put a lot of rules and regulations and all of that, but they actually slow us down rather than take us next level. So I think also we see it also from very general point of view, the word usefulness, but we can really download it into real details inside our companies.
Beautiful. Let me remind our audience that you can go into the chat area in your YouTube and state your questions. I have my assistant here who is going to give me your questions. Actually, I'm looking at the screen right now myself. So please feel free to do so we can answer your questions as we go along, so you don't have to wait for the end of the presentation for your questions. Okay, moving right along here. Now, obviously, you want to grow in your business. And one of the things that we preach that you should do is have committed management, employees, and the entire team. I don't know if you know the story about the pig and the chicken that were walking down the street, and the chicken sees a sign outside of a restaurant, ham and eggs, looks at the restaurant and sees people waiting even in lines to go in, and then says, "Hey, buddy," to the pig, to his buddy, "We got what it takes. We got the ham, we got the eggs. Why don't we start our own business?" And the pig says, "Oh, no. Why, buddy? Don't you trust me?" "Yes, I trust you, but I'll be committed. You will only be a participant." Did you follow that? I think it's a very profound statement, and I'll repeat. The pig said, "I'll be committed. You will only be a participant." Are we just participants in a business, or are we committed? And you will see, by the way, a Gallup review in a few minutes about this concept as well. Now, when I mentioned in the beginning that we have different issues that we have accepted as norm, I'll be the first one, and I'm a professor myself. I've been an academician for 42 years, okay? And I'll be the first one to admit that even academic institutions are part of the problems that we have nowadays in our business. Excuse me. Now take a look at any academic program of a school that offers, a university that offers, let's say, business, management, economics, marketing, finance, accounting, and the like. You're going to see courses like Management 101, Operations Management, Marketing Management, Project Management, HR Management, and all the different types of courses of management, okay, even global management, which basically teach you how to be a manager, how to follow orders, and how to operate a business within the frame that somebody designed for you. However, countries, including America and all over the world, were built on entrepreneurship and leadership that is needed at all levels. When I talk to people, different academicians, presidents, and others, are you teaching leadership? Are you teaching entrepreneurship? They tell me, yeah, we have a chapter in this book and the professor sometimes addresses that. I'm sorry, folks, but that's not the way it should be. When we have 10, 15 courses on management and we only have a chapter or maybe a course on leadership or entrepreneurship, to me, that's not fair. Well, now we're going to start going into the positive things of how business behave. And here we have an understanding company. Actually, I have two examples on this. This individual who was working for a company somehow had a problem, had an accident, became handicapped. And instead of the company saying, fine, you go home, retire, finish, the person still had his mind and was very knowledgeable and useful to the company. So this is what the company did. They went to his home, they built a ramp, and they built an office right outside the home so the person can go there and work basically from home in a secluded individual office instead of saying, go home for the rest of your life and you're no longer part of us. Look at this next picture. Another handicapped person who loved working on this truck. What they did, they designed it in a way that they can lower the place for him to enter, and then the person can go back to work and operate, excuse me, operate the truck, even though he's handicapped. And that is a caring company. That is a company that shows interest in being with, caring about the well-being of their employees. Before I get to the Gallup research about the engagement that I talked about, Ragnar, do you have any comments on those two pictures, those two scenarios about?
Actually, I do. I think it's absolutely crucial to remember that if you want to create that environment that really fosters the commitment, this is exactly where you need to be focused. You need to be focused how to create that environment inside your company where every single person who really contributes and is committed. And can you imagine if you just had this done to your employee? He's going to be 210% committed because
Absolutely.
you have done something for them which in their mind nobody else will do. So what do you think, what type of work and delivery that person will have? But we need to keep in mind also, if we see what COVID did to us, it's all in innovation. Now we really needed to understand how and what do we need to do in order to still have the people which are at home under so much more pressure. How do they feel, and how do you really still get the commitment that you need? So I know entrepreneurs and leaders, you have been under a lot of pressure on that point, but and share below this video what have been your, let's say, measures to really raise the commitment, and what are you doing differently now when COVID hit? So it would be interesting to see those comments. So share with us.
Excellent. Well, speaking of commitment and engagement that I talked about a little while ago, Gallup, another international organization, researched 8,500 companies around the world to see how much their employees are committed, and they came up with 3 categories: engaged, disengaged, and actively disengaged. I have the results of the 3 categories in the description of those categories here. And as you can see, under engaged, they found people who are positive, they're enthusiastic about the business, they contribute, they want to be part of it, they're team players, and they love their customers and the company, and they'll go beyond the normal call of duty, as Ragnar said, they'll offer 110% or 210%, whatever the case may be. The second category that they found was the disengaged, and those are people who are indifferent. Basically, they're the ones who do minimal work. They go in, let's say 9 to 5. They say, give me my tasks for the day. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me. Let me do my work. 5 o'clock came by, 5:01, they're out of there. They do their work, but they're not engaged at all. The ones, however, that are really sad is the third category, the actively disengaged. Those are negative people. They don't care about the business. They're there just to collect their paycheck. They do minimal work, if any, and the first opportunity they find, they're out of there. Now, these things happen in all businesses. Obviously, they found representatives in all 3 categories. The interesting thing, though, is look at the percentages that they found. On the first one, they found only 30% of the employees. On the second, 50, and on the third, 20. Basically, folks, that means 70% of the employees are somehow disengaged or actively disengaged in your business, and that is sad. Therefore, engagement should be the main role of any and all CEOs, managers, and others to improve, and once engagement is improved, then things are a lot better. Regarding your people, and again, now as I said, we're entering the area where we're thinking positively, and we say this is what we should be doing, okay? Regarding your people, folks, is another way of engaging them and making their life interesting, and make them being interested in your business. Because I want you to remember that things that are rewarded and appreciated, they get done. So when you reward and appreciate what your people do, they will get things done, just like Ragnar said, 110%. However, now, these rewards have to be realistic, and they have to be attainable. Not like this. Can you see that this person, there's no way he can catch that carrot, that reward? So the rewards need to be attainable and reachable, in essence, okay? Now, if you want your employees and your company to grow and develop, by the way, we grow companies, we develop people, involve them in the process. As I said earlier on something that Ragnar said, people don't go against what they propose. Remember that. Involve them in the process as she does. Ask for their input. If it is logical, you implement it, and you show them that you implemented their idea, so you show the appreciation. And trust me, once they do that, they're not going to go back. Ragnar, you already spoke on this, so might as well let's move on to the next one. Okay. Satisfaction versus loyalty. Folks, quite a few companies go for satisfied customers. Our customers are 98% satisfied. Our customers are 90% satisfied, whatever the case may be. I want you to remember the following. A satisfied customer is still looking. A loyal customer or client will never leave you. So you should be aiming not for satisfied customer and employees, but for loyal clients and employees. Okay. Now, how do we convert a customer or an employee to first satisfied and then loyal? Is a whole concept. I'll be delighted to address it at the end of the hour, because right now we still need to go through the concepts that we have for you today. A concept that I want you to remember, and I'll give you some examples on this, is this one, folks, that's based on three stools, on three elements. Must be, the more the better, and the delighters. Let me explain, because it's not a self-explanatory concept. With everything we do, every product or service, we have to realize that there's always the must be, meaning the minimum that has to be there in order for the product to be acceptable. For instance, if you're making, let's say, and selling men's clothing or women's dresses, clothing in general, a suit must have pockets, must have shoulder pads, must have lining, must have buttons, and that is a must be in order for the suit to be sellable, to be okay. Now, the more the better refers to, let's say you have the buttons, and with some companies, folks, you open up the jacket and you see some extra buttons on the inside. They place 3, 4, maybe 5 different buttons in case you lose some of them. Now, the more buttons you have, the better off you are. Or the shoulder pads. Obviously, you don't want them to be this thin, because now your shoulder is going to look slouchy. By the same token, you don't want them to look like, you don't want to look like a football player. So when we say the more the better, we add within reason. The more the better, within reason. I travel a lot around the world, and I've been to hotels where when you lift the towel after you take a shower, you can almost see through. Obviously, I'm not expecting a blanket as a towel, but I want it to be thick enough to dry me after a shower. Or some of the showers are so tiny, I can't even turn around. And of course, I'm not expecting an Olympic swimming pool to take a bath in, but I want certain comfort. So the more the better, within reason. The area, however, where we can really engage our people, convert them to loyal, whether they are customers or clients, is this third category, the delighters. Delighters are unexpected attributes that the customer finds them pleasant, and they are really, really pleased when they're present. Here's an example. Let's say that you and your family go to a restaurant, and after you went there the second or third time, the waiter comes up to you and says, well, time for dessert. And you probably say, no, we had plenty. No, the house wants to buy you dessert because we appreciate you have been here 3 times already. So the owner wants to buy you dessert. So now everybody has an appetite for dessert and they start ordering. They didn't expect that, but they are delighted that the place appreciated their business and offer them dessert. Now, the final thing on this topic is I want you to remember that today's delighters become tomorrow's expectations, meaning the next time this party goes back to the restaurant, in the back of their mind, they're going to be thinking, well, let's go there because we might get dessert also. And if they think that they're going to get dessert and they indeed get the dessert, the following time, most likely they're going to order less. So now you start losing business because they know they have the dessert coming. So you need to keep on improvising and developing different delighters. In closing, today's delighters become tomorrow's expectations. Ragnar, I know you're dealing with this concept and I know you're doing this with your people, and I can see the smile that you have because, come on, talk to me about it. What do you do?
I think an interesting angle for you, if you're looking at this, would be also to see how your message conveys that. how you want to create the loyalty in within your products and services. And really it comes down to your, what are the hooks, meaning what are you promising to your client to get them in? What is your story? How to make them the hero of that story? So what are the desires and the problems that you're solving with your with your products and services, and what is your offer, the delighters? What benefits are you really offering on let's say on daily basis that they want to come back? And I always say to my team, under promise and over deliver, and it works every time. But you need to have it consistently, not once in a while, but really having the structure inside that you keep. The key to loyalty is also remembering your clients or customers' preferences. And that takes a lot of manpower or systems. So that's one point which I wanted to add.
Another key question that we ask is, when was the last time, and I asked these CEOs and top executives this question, folks, and I think it's very fundamental, and please internalize it, remember it, and start asking it yourselves. The question is, sir or madam, when was the last time that you ran an analysis, a reevaluation, and redesign of processes in order to enhance quality? And usually, after they are lost for a moment, they go, but why do I need this? I'm making money. I have a profitable company. Yeah, you probably have a profitable company now. However, your competition is doing it and they keep on improving. They follow the concept of continuous improvement. And if you don't, you're going to fall behind. So ask the question, when was the last time that you ran an analysis, reevaluation, and redesign of processes in order to enhance quality? The next concept that we urge our clients to do, folks, is the concept of branding. Everybody tries to brand their products. Oh, we have the best product, and they promote their products. Imagine if your employees, instead of promoting the products, if they were so proud of their management and they said, I work for the best boss around. I work for the best company around. The way this company treats its people is the best. Can you imagine how much of a positive impact that would create to society and whoever listens to those comments? So brand your management instead of just your products. Another major alternative to doing business, folks, and this is a common sense comparison that I have, is a doctor walks into his or her office and finds 30 patients. The doctor does not write one prescription for all 30 and say, go home. He or she, the doctor, takes each and every person individually, examines what their needs and situation is, and prescribes accordingly. However, a trainer with 30 participants walks into the room and gives one lecture, one training for all 30. And to me, that's awkward. That's not proper. First of all, and we have talked about it in previous subjects, the 7 learning styles that we have. Not all people learn the same way, folks. They have different learning habits and abilities. They want to see things differently. Some of them are auditory, others are kinesthetic, and so on, okay? So you got to apply apply different techniques to accommodate all learning styles. It's not okay to give one lecture, which is what we professors do most of the times, and that's not norm. The area, however, that really hits home and my clients find very effective, Ragnar, I want you to comment on this as soon as we cover this subject, because it's a very serious one, is the way supervisors are selected. Folks, if somebody does not know how to swim, you don't take the person and throw him on the deep end of a swimming pool and say, we'll teach you next week. You take the person by the arm and you teach him how to swim slowly, going into the light waters first and then deeper and deeper and deeper until the person learns. When somebody gets hired, let's say, in a fire department, You don't send that person the very first day to go put out a fire, or a policeman. You hire a policeman. You don't send him out the very first day to put out a riot. You put them through training. However, I'm sorry, you also do the same with doctors. You hire doctors. You don't send them to get a surgery right away, okay? You got to put this, we place these people through training. In management, what do? We appoint somebody as a supervisor, a lead person, or a manager, and now he or she is a manager, knows how to run the department, and we rely on that without any particular training. What we recommend, folks, is qualifications training and eligibility list, which means open up the supervisors or managers position to the people in your department and say, I want one of you to be a supervisor. Here's the training, go through it, and whoever scores the best becomes a supervisor. Now imagine if you just appointed somebody out of the blue as a supervisor, what does he or she know about conflict resolution? What does he or she know about sexual harassment or abuse in the workplace or hostile work environment? If that occurs, especially the first day that he or she is appointed, nothing. Not only they cannot handle the situation, they may even make it worse. However, if you put them through the qualifications training, and let's say that 3 people accepted the challenge and went through the qualifications training, and you only appoint one, obviously, as a supervisor, you do have 2 others in case other departments need a supervisor, or you have another person to give the days off to the supervisor that you appoint. So it's a win-win situation, and the people now are accepted and respected by the peers because they know that they have been trained and they're capable of handling the department. Ragnar, I think the last time we talked about this, you found this very innovative and inspiring. What are your comments on that?
Yeah, I think one thing what we do not measure is the employee commitment here, because if we just appoint, then you, without thinking of it, you can create that environment inside that some of the people will, which were engaged before, are now disengaged. So that's number one, and really have also be on the same page with the person that you will appoint, that what is the measures of keeping their team engaged, and how can they really become on that level that that everybody are on the same page and keep on doing their fabulous job. And the other interesting thing, which I was thinking when you announced that, and we did some tests in our teams when we announced that, okay, we are going to promote one of you, and everybody who wants to enter enters. So we did the training, and in the end of the training, we did the following. We appointed the person, and then just to give the sort of not only title, obviously, but everything that comes with the title and really meaning the title, we said, you know what, when that person is out, when that person is on a sick leave, when whatever happens with that person, you become the vice president of that. So even if you didn't win today, then we know that you have the training and you have everything that it needs to be promoted, whether in this department or any other. So I would just still bring that up, that there's not one winner after that let's say competition which you are creating.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, here's another paradox that we have in our business. Folks, doctors diagnose before they prescribe. Attorneys study the case, study all cases before they take on a client. Builders, before they build a building, a home or whatsoever, they study the blueprints. What do managers do? A manager is a manager now, so I walk in anytime I want to, and I manage. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at a sports team, the coach, and let's say that the practice starts 9 o'clock. What time does the coach usually walk in? Well before 9 o'clock, and waits for the players to come in. If the practice finishes, let's say at 2 p.m., players leave at 2 or shortly thereafter, or even before 2. What time do you think that the coach leaves? Way after 2. Okay, they stay there with managers. Well, I'm a manager now, I can go in late. I got my people do the work. Oh, I'm a manager now, I can leave earlier. Somebody else can close the store. I can leave now because I'm a manager. And that's not the proper way to manage. One of the final concepts is evaluations. Evaluations, folks, is a double-edged sword in essence, because if they're handled properly, they can be a challenging and motivating element to the employees. If they're mishandled, they can be a very negative and disappointing things. Unfortunately enough, many companies do not use the evaluations in order to engage and develop their people. Unfortunately enough, they're using it as a demotivating, or they use it backwards by saying, well, you did this and this and that wrong throughout the year, therefore I'm not going to give you the raise that others get, because they use the evaluation in order to hold people down and not give them enough money as part of their pay raise. What we recommend here, folks, is distinguish between performance evaluations and pay promotions evaluations. Actually, we believe that they should be 6 months apart, and you don't confuse one with the other. You should have one in order to evaluate the person's performance, and another one 6 months later to evaluate how much money the person should be getting as part of the promotion. One of the questions that I mentioned in the very beginning that I learned from Art Nielsen was, if you could change anything in your business, what would that be? Now, listen to your people. And I'm not saying that you should go on and implement every change, as Ragnar said a little while ago, but ask your people. And when they see that their recommendations are taken and implemented, they feel part of the establishment, they feel part of the process, and they appreciate that. All right, I'm going to go through a couple more here because time is of essence, and I know that you have a very important appointment in 10 minutes from now. So I know you're going to leave us, okay? But let's take advantage of your knowledge in another minute or so. Ask for it. Now imagine, let's say that you have 20 employees in your company, 50, 100, 1,000, it doesn't matter. Ask your employees to come up with one improvement per month. Even if you only have 10 employees, folks, you're going to have 12 improvements by the end of the year. If you have 100 employees, you're going to have 1,200 improvements throughout the year. You don't even need me as your consultant if your employees came up with their own improvement ideas. But do we ask them to improve? Usually not. And we tell them, just do what I say, don't think. Actually, what comes to mind now is a company that I was referred to do some consulting some time ago. This is a cute story. And when I drove up to the security gate, I gave my card, my ID, I announced myself to the security person, and on the right-hand side on the fence, I saw a sign that says, "Leave your brains here, we'll be returned to you by 5 p.m. I said, oh no, do I really want to be involved in this company? Well, I had an appointment, so I had to go. I felt like turning around and leaving right away, but it wouldn't be professional of me, so I went in. Well, guess what? The very first thing that I discussed with them is that by the time I go today, that sign has to come down. And it was taken down by the end of the day because they saw the usefulness of what we had to offer. And they realized that that was, in essence, counterproductive. Here's another template that we suggest that you should be using. Do you know the talents and the capabilities that your people have? Here, let's just take a look at this for a moment. Art, for instance, who is the very first person, under management has a yellow tag, and that means that he was never trained. However, Bob, under management, says can provide training. So now you can pair up Art and Bob can train Art because Bob is capable of training, knows the subject, knows management, okay? excuse me. So go on and run, I call this a stethoscope, okay, of your employees' capabilities and knowledge. Find out who can do what, who needs what, and work internally, okay? Here's something new, and most of you have not even seen. Companies go on and perform training, and then they establish policy. They perform more training, then more policy, more training and policy, and they do it once, thinking that people will learn the subject by just going through it once. First of all, the missing part is the policy. They go through training, but they don't always have policy. The most important, however, folks, is that they should periodically reinforce the training that they give to their employees. Do not expect that employees will learn and remember something simply because they went through it once. Ragnar, I know this may be your last comment. If you want to comment here, because I still have a couple more subjects to go through, since you're going to live in us in a few minutes. Okay, please.
Don't worry, we are delayed with another
oh, really?
call. Yeah, so I will be entering there 35 minutes, so I can accompany you a little more. But where I really see that it's important to also understand with if we talk about the evaluation and how do we as leaders or managers see the evaluation. And I think most of us get the idea or the approach as we would be back in school, that we just measure what people have been done. We take their, okay, this is the scope of your work, what you should be doing, and we see, okay, this has been done. But that rarely we understand where the skill set really of that person is. When we train them, how much have they really grown, and how much are they really contributing more after that? And I think we do not prepare enough ourselves and as managers and leaders for those evaluations. What should we really do? As John Maxwell says, with asking better questions, we will get better answers. So really truly prepare your evaluation and understand it's not just something that the company needs you to fulfill that paper, but why are you doing this? What is the reason to evaluate, whether it's yourself or whether it's that employee, and where do you want to get that employee in by the end of the quarter, by the end of the half year, or by the end of the year? So I think that that's the part that we usually get so automatic of, okay, this is the thing, this is the meeting I need to do, this is the, like, checking the boxes, but we don't ask the good questions. Why are we doing this? So that would be and obviously this very slide is very true. Periodically reinforce and really also see if people are applying the things that they were just trained. But again, as a leader or as a manager, you need to have your focus on it. If you don't have your focus there, I'm sorry, but this training, again, yes, did they learn something? For sure. But is it what will contribute to the growth of your company? That's where you need to focus.
Beautiful. Very well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, and now we're going to get into the last and most important, I believe, concept of the day, the systemic thinking, systemic action and reaction. If you want sustainable improvement, folks, you've got to look at the whole system, not just a department. In previous workshops and presentations, I've given you the significance of the word systems, which basically means if you have a system, you have, and there's the acronym that you see, okay? You save yourself significant time, effort, and money. And this is a proven fact. By the way, I've developed that myself, unlike some other acronyms that I've borrowed and I use, with this one. If you like it, feel free to use. I'm giving you the right. That's part of my intellectual property, so feel free to use. With a system, you save yourself significant time, effort, and money. The problem that we've seen, though, throughout the years, folks, is that a company that consists of various departments, and basically here is a department. Every department consists of input, process, and output. And of course, they usually use feedback in order to improve the process. And finally, a company consists of many different sets, departments where input, process, and output take place. Now, when a company has a number of departments and one of the departments is not performing well, they say, well, let's train the people in that department, let's bring new equipment, let's improve that department. And they do that without considering the impact that that department or the improvement of that department has onto the rest of the business. I use a very simplified example for you to follow this concept. And let's say that you have a manufacturing company and the production department does not produce enough. So now you go on and you buy new machines, you train the people, you buy robots, and production is increased. Actually, production goes through the roof. And now that department manager looks really good because he or she is producing plenty. However, if that department manager did not coordinate with the storage department or the selling department or the marketing department or even the finance department to fund these purchases of raw materials to produce, the stockroom department are not going to have enough room to store the units. And some of them may be out there in cold weather on the sidewalk, and now they can be destroyed. Or another department, the selling department, may not have the capability to sell all those newly excess produced units. So now they stay in the stockroom as unsold because we did not coordinate with the selling department so they can get more people to sell the units that we produced. What I'm getting to, folks, is that improving a department on its own may not necessarily be the best thing, and you should always look into the effect that that department has onto the rest of the departments in the company. We call that interdependence, the way the department affects others and the way other departments depend on the next department or the previous department. Interdependence is the key that we should be looking into when we do improvements. So improvement of here's a statement, okay, that I want you to internalize and understand. Improvement of a system should address the entire company, not just a part, not just a department. Okay, and when a system is taken apart, because now we only look into this one department that we're improving, it may lose its essential qualities and capabilities. Improving a department without considering the effect onto the rest of the departments may be counterproductive. You may be shooting yourself on the foot. So basically, what we're saying is look into the interdependence and influence impact that this improvement of one specific department has onto the rest of the company and coordinate the improvement as a whole, not as an isolated element or department, okay? Finally, the example that I use is a car, but time is of essence, so I'm not gonna get to it now. Let me see if there's any additional information here about a system that we can talk about. Actually, no, why don't we let Ragnar, because she specializes in this and she knows this element well. Ragnar, your comments until I find anything else useful here.
You know what? I really truly on this slide of interdependency, I did not understand for a long time starting to become when I became the manager of the constraint theory. What does it really mean? it means that you see the bottlenecks throughout your company, because we get so focused, as you say, in your department and wanting to deliver everything correctly. But the problem is that if there is a bottleneck before, let's say, the service or customer or whatever you take care has a problem, that whatever you do, it doesn't matter, in a sense that the result is already missing. So yes, I would strongly suggest to have those meetings with really going through whether it's a customer journey, whether it's internal processes, and really seeing where are the bottlenecks for your company. And again, the magic here is Dr. John Kalaras just gave you the tools and the how to do it. Now, if you complement that with good and very good questions, you will solve those problems, and you will be the hero of the game. So who knows, maybe from the department you will be the next CEO. So keep that in mind.
Excellent, very well said. And Ragnar, our people here know that they can always contact us if they don't have any questions at this point. As you said in the very beginning, please have a pen and a paper and take notes. When you go through your notes, if you have a question, email me. Email the organization. They'll get to me if you don't want to contact me directly. One final thing that we need to address here, folks, is the harmonious relationship between departments. And let me emphasize something here that, again, is something that we have been taking as right, and it's not, as a norm, and it's not. Many consultants and management books talk about have a balance in life, balance between work, family, and personal life. However, when you try to have a balance, and one of the three, work, personal life, and home life, one of the three requires more time, this one gains and the other loses. So in balance, you have winners and losers. What we propose is harmony, because if on a given day you need to work a little longer, or if you need to relax or stay home with your family a little longer, that should not be viewed as a loss of the other. You'll make up the time. So instead of balancing, try to harmonize, and we found out that it's by far more effective. Well, as we said, you got to improve the whole system, not just a department. Now, improving a department, it's performance management. Improving the system, it is performance development, okay? And it's one thing to manage and another thing to develop. With that, I'm looking at some of the questions here on the YouTube. People have said, where can I find out Gallup organization and those results? Well, if you just Google Gallup, you'll see all those questions. Another comment here says, I liked the pig and the chicken comment and trust. That's excellent. Good points. That means that people were attending. Well, Ragnar, after all, we didn't keep you very late, okay? Because this is the end of our presentation today. And unless people have any more questions, I'll be delighted to stick around. Any final and closing comments before I give mine? Please, the floor is yours.
I think that if anything else, if you did not take anything else today from this, which I doubt, but really understanding your role and really understanding your why in the company is absolutely crucial for the growth of the company. So if you are able to foster the engagement in your company, if you understand that systematically you need to pay attention to grow your people, to develop their skills, to train them, and not only presenting the training, you need to understand where people come from. We all come from the same educational system, which John always says it's broken, no? And read his book of it and you will understand perfectly. So So we tend to use the same measures which were used with us since we were child. So are we jumping as high as we need? Are we doing the things as others? And we don't really evaluate or take into considerations what is done or what is the over delivery of each of your team members, and start to grow on that, the over delivery. What are people doing differently? How do they see things differently? And if you engage in that way, then you will have incredible results. So it's all about you, how you are as a leader, because we know that there's a specific difference between leadership and management. So who do you want to be in the end of the day? Do you want to be and stay as manager, or you yourself want to grow to the leadership level, even if you're just managing one department? So and I can assure you, any company owner will see what you are doing as a department manager if you're leading your team to success. So and again, I'm here if you felt that any of those comments were really beneficial for you, or you have any other questions, then reach out to us, and here to serve you and to help you. And Dr. John Kalaras, thank you for including me. It was a very eye-opening morning again. I've made some notes. I think that you put me to think a little differently again. So I want to thank you for adding value to my day today, and hope to see you very soon again.
Thank you. Well, you just mentioned the differences between management and leaders. And in one of my books, Magnetic Charisma, which, by the way, is the book that you had it translated into Estonian, the very first page that the book is based on is this outlay. Can you see it? Yeah. I specifically have differences about the managers and the inspirational leader. And it goes down the list. And basically, that's what the book is based on. Well, Ragnar, thank you. I really appreciate your contributions today. But also, here I have some comments. I liked the delighters. Please repeat what you said about delighters. One person says, okay, we said that the must be, the more the better, and delighters are the three main elements. The must be represent the basics. The more the better within reason is the more you have of something, the better off you are. But again, within reason. And delighters are things that the customer does not expect, but he or she is delighted to see, and they're pleasantly surprised. And that is what elevates them into loyalty sometimes. In closing, I want to thank all of you for attending today. I want to thank Christopher for managing all the technical aspects behind the scene, because that is, in essence, the most important. And of course, Ragnar for contributing with her excellent ideas. And remind everybody that if you like what you saw today, I am also, as you probably know by now, if not, you're finding out now, I am the founder of Ariston Institute of Chicago. And let me just say, and take another minute on this. The company that I had, Quality Training Institute, was a global company that provided training and consulting around the world, was doing so well. People were urging me to establish a university, which eventually I did. And there's the name of it, Ariston Institute of Chicago. And that is where all these concepts that you saw today and the previous times, folks, will be presented. And those would be the courses and the degrees that the university will offer. In closing, about the university, if I can only take another second, we're going to have a master's level, a baccalaureate level, and a training or certificates level, simply because somebody may not have the money or the time to spend 4 years to get a bachelor's or 2 years to get a master's, but he or she may only need, let's say, a certificate. Well, in that case, they come in, they take the course for the certificate, and if they pass it, they have a certificate to go back to their bosses, to their work, and prove that they have the credentials now to perform their job better as a certified professional. So we'll be providing that master's, baccalaureate, and certification programs around the world. We already have about 45 countries participating and expecting to have these programs. And for your information, folks, so you know, Ragnar has 22 chapters, women's chapters around the world, and those would be, again, instrumental in promoting the Ariston Institute or university, if you will, around the world. So we are coming to you. Bear with us. We'll be there soon enough, and feel free to contact us with any and all questions. Let me see if there's any more questions here. No, excellent presentation. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. No, basically, that's about it. I don't see any more questions. Again, thank you. God bless you. Have a lovely day or evening wherever you are around the world. Thank you all.